Okay, what's up, bro? Today I'm going to be talking about dopamine detoxing and what a lot of people get wrong about dopamine and how it works. So I'm going to explain to you in the full video just very briefly how dopamine works and some of the stuff that you can do to actually stop spiking your dopamine all the time. Also, I'm recording this video with my girlfriend in the background. She's not looking. So I feel a little bit awkward recording with her. The main thing that everyone gets wrong about dopamine is people think that dopamine is the hormone that is about like pleasure and like joy and stuff like that. But realistically, what dopamine actually does is it's the hormone that motivates you. So one of the best analogies that I ever heard talking about dopamine and how it works is if you think of a swimming pool. So let's say you have a swimming pool and it's full to the brim of water. Whenever you do something that's like pleasurable, like watching social media or like what my girlfriend's doing, which is just watching, what are you watching? Okay, so my girlfriend's watching The Walking Dead, spiking her dopamine like crazy. Always on TikTok. So she's constantly spiking her dopamine. And what this does is in the swimming pool that's full of water to the brim, every time you spike your dopamine, it's like a wave that goes up. And then obviously when the wave goes up and it comes back down, it's going to splash on the sides and the dopamine is going to eventually fall out of the pool like water would. So if you constantly spike your dopamine, you're essentially going to drain your dopamine lower and lower and lower. And this is how dopamine works. And if you constantly spike it, when the dopamine comes back down, it's going to go below where you started off at. So this is a nice analogy that I like to use to kind of tell people how dopamine works and how spiking your dopamine constantly is going to make it eventually go down over time. And that's what makes activities that used to be fun essentially not fun anymore, right? So when you're like playing video games, for example, like GTA or something, and you're dead excited to play it when you first start, you go to pick up your controller, you load up the game, you start playing it, it's really fun. And that's when your dopamine is at like the peak levels, like it's spiked. But then eventually after like a couple hours of playing the game, it kind of goes down and down and down and actually goes down below where it started before you even started playing the game. So if every day you're constantly just spiking your dopamine, going to play GTA, going to watch social media, watching Netflix, it's just constantly spiking and then going below baseline and then spiking up a little bit less, then going below baseline. And it kind of just creates this downward spiral, this downward trend of dopamine that's just going to eventually lead you to become like depressed and down. So that is the first thing that people kind of get wrong about dopamine. That's kind of how it can eventually go down over time. And that's why we need to do a dopamine detox to get it back up to the level that we need to get it to. And the other thing that people get wrong about dopamine is they think it's about like pleasure and like the hormone that creates joy and the feeling of like happiness, but really it's about motivation. So if you want to go and scroll through social media, you'll have, if you think about wanting to scroll through social media, you'll have a spike in dopamine before you go to scroll through social media. But as you're actually scrolling through it, the dopamine is going to like level off and then eventually go down. And it's the dopamine spiking that actually motivated you to go and play on social media. And it's like willpower that is the opposite of motivation. That's like the willpower to not do that thing, to spike your dopamine, right? So dopamine is all about motivation. So dopamine can be really good to get us motivated to like make videos, to go to the gym, to go for a walk, to meditate, to eat healthy, right? But it can also be bad because it can make you addicted to like playing video games. It can make you addicted to scrolling through social media and watching Netflix and stuff. So that is kind of the main issue with spiking your dopamine constantly, is you get addicted to these things. So the main thing that a dopamine detox does is if you can avoid things like playing video games, like scrolling through social media, watching Netflix, eventually your dopamine is going to slowly rise back up to that baseline level that it was before. Because if you've been constantly doing these like fun activities that you're just super motivated to do, that you can't stop yourself doing, like eating junk food, watching, like scrolling through TikTok, it's eventually just going to crash your dopamine so low, and you're going to require to do something more and more extreme and spend longer and longer on social media, spend longer and longer playing video games to get it back up to that same level. So if you can have a detox from those things, it's eventually going to bring your dopamine back up to baseline. And that is the main benefit of a dopamine detox, is because when your dopamine is crashed all the way to the bottom, like that swimming pool analogy, there's no more water left in the pool, you're just going to be unhappy in life, right? You're not going to find joy in anything. The things that you used to find joy in, you're not going to find fun anymore. It's like that thing with video games, for example, right? A lot of people say, like my age, say that video games aren't fun anymore. And the main reason for that is because when we were kids, like when I was a kid, I literally just grew up playing video games constantly. So obviously now they're not as fun to me anymore because I just literally spiked my dopamine so much playing video games that now it's just like the idea of playing video games has just gone down to the point where I'm not even like motivated to do it anymore. So it's not fun. And if you do this with like every single thing in your life that you find enjoyable, that you get serotonin out of, you're just not going to be motivated to want to do it anymore. So you need to have a detox, a break, right? You need to do something else. So I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you that's really helped me is the best thing I did was I deleted social media, right? Completely addicted to like Instagram, and I guess I was like addicted to like Snapchat and stuff. I never really used TikTok, like that's not something I ever used, but I was like proper addicted to Instagram, right? Like memes and stuff. So one of the biggest, like easiest quick wins you can do if you just get addicted to social media and constantly spiking your dopamine through that and becoming completely insensitive to dopamine is just delete social media, right? I've not had social media now for like 9 months, which is such a big achievement for me. Like I'm so proud of myself that I've not actually had social media for that long. So that's one of the easiest, like quickest wins you can do. Obviously, just like if you're addicted to playing video games, just like stop playing video games as much, or just try and stop playing video games completely and do something else. And just find like other things that are fun, right? One of the things I really enjoy now doing as like a fun thing to do for me is literally just going for a walk and like either listening to music or just listening to a podcast. Like that is something that I find really fun to do. If you told me that I would have found that fun like 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have probably said like, you're ridiculous. I wouldn't find that fun. But I actually find like dopamine out of that now because I've kind of done like a pseudo dopamine detox by deleting social media and like stop playing video games and stuff. So that's like one of the things that's really helped me is I find fun in other things to do, like going for a walk. I find it fun to go to the gym and lift weights, right? A lot of other people don't. That's like a challenge, like a task, right, to do, like a chore. If you can get it to the point where you find dopamine in the smaller things like that, that's just going to hugely improve your life, right? If you can get dopamine to that level where you actually find it fun to do stuff like that. So yeah, that was just a quick little video. I just wanted to clarify a lot of like misconceptions, because a lot of people talk about dopamine as this like pleasure hormone. It's like the hormone of pleasure, right? It's not. It's all about motivation. If you're like constantly spiking your dopamine, it's the dopamine spike that's making you motivated to go and do the bad habits, right? So each time that the dopamine is spiking, that is what is causing you to actually want to go and eat the junk food, want to go and play video games. So if you can just think about it as like the hormone of motivation, and you can use it for good and you can use it for bad, and just think about how much you're actually spiking that, right? If you're constantly spiking it with bad habits, eventually it's going to go down and you're going to be very unmotivated. You're not going to be very sensitive to dopamine anymore. So just try and cut out the bad habits, try and cut out the dopamine intensive habits. Right, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, bro. And yeah, improve yourself 1% every day and you'll get there. See ya.